Hey, Wayside middle school students. So, there was this one time where I was taking my kids to the park. Now, if you know me, I love being a dad, and I love being a dad to girls. I have three of them, and they're amazing. In fact, right here is a picture of us yesterday going to the park, or not going to the park, but going just out to play in the puddles because quarantine life has got us absolutely losing our minds. So we just had to get out of the house somehow. So we went down to the park to play in the water just because that's what you do when you're losing your minds in the quarantine. It reminded me of this time where I took them to a splash pad near our house. I absolutely love just hanging out with the girls and playing with them in the splash pad. It's just a fun thing that we do. And we were there with some friends of theirs from school, and we were all just kind of mingling and playing around. And then all of a sudden, I hear one of my daughters screaming from the other end of the park. Now, if you ever get kids, or maybe you know this from being a sibling, there's a difference between the scream of "I'm really happy," the scream of "I'm really upset," and the scream of "Oh my goodness, it hurts so bad right now." And this was definitely the "it hurts really bad" scream that I heard. I ran over and I just see one of my girls holding her arm like this and just coming up, and just from that look, it's bad and it's probably broken. And so at this exact moment, I was in a crisis. I had three girls soaking wet, one of whom had a broken arm, and all of a sudden I've got to figure out what I'm going to do. Because me and my dad's self, it was just me with the three girls at the park. Now what I could have done would be to just scoop up the one who had the broken arm and say, "Fend for yourselves, other children!" Put her in the car and sped to the hospital, ignoring the stop signs and the red lights and the speed limits and all this kind of stuff, and just get her to the hospital as quickly as I possibly could in an effort to take care of her and respond to the crisis. But the reality would be, if I had done that, not only would I be a terrible father for leaving my other two children at the park, but I probably would have gotten a ticket along the way and an officer looking at me going "I understand. You're nervous and scared because your kid is hurt, but this is not the appropriate way to respond to a crisis." Now, what we're dealing with right now is definitely us in crisis mode, okay? And that's a 2-week series that I want to start just right now called Crisis Mode. What do you do when you're in a crisis? And man, we're there right now, right? This is the weirdest time that I've ever been through. And I've lived through a couple crises. Crises? Crises. There's been more than one crisis in my life that I've lived through. So I've lived through 9/11, I've lived through the swine flu, I've lived through a whole bunch of weird situations, but this one just seems different. The whole idea of shelter in place, don't go out to eat, stay away from people, and if you are going to be with people, give them 6 feet of space. Yeah, it just seems weird and different for sure. And so we're going to take 2 weeks just to look about how we ought to respond when we're in crisis mode. Now, real quick, just want to give you guys an update. If you need to, if you want to get information about what's going on and what's happening, this is the website you need to go to. All right, so it's waysidechapel.org/echo-online. Exactly like you see it, just right here. Go to this website. All right, so this is where our Wednesday night lives are going to be, our Echo Live. This is where our Sunday space is going to be for middle school students. And if you are in high school or you go to the Stone Oak campus, that's where your Sunday spaces are going to be as well. And as things happen, we'll update you and give you a video there so that you can see what's going on. Just so you can know what's happening, when and where, all the information. But it's supposed to be here at this website, waysidechapel.org/echo online. All right, so that's something that you need to know. Crisis mode. All right, here's our first week, and the title of this lesson is just pay attention. When you're in crisis mode, you need to pay attention. So here's what we're going to be looking at. I don't mean pay attention like be careful when you go shopping for toilet paper, or be careful, pay attention like to how many times you wash your hands. Those are important. That matters. But when I say pay attention, I mean be careful, pay attention to how you respond to a crisis, all right? Pay attention to how you respond to a crisis. All right, so check it out with me. If you've got a Bible, or if you can do like stream this and your Bible at the same time, or just go get a physical Bible. It'll be good. This is Ephesians 5:15 through 17. And it says here, pay careful attention then to how you live, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of the time because the days are evil. So don't be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Like I said, that's Ephesians 5:15 through 17. Pay attention, all right? It matters. So when Paul is saying pay attention here, pay careful attention to how you live, what are some ways that you can pay attention to how you are living? First thing that I think is super important is that you can pay attention to what you say. Now, I get it. Memes are awesome and hilarious, and I've found a couple COVID-19 memes that I just think are like spot on, like the ones we shared on Wednesday nights. There's some really funny stuff, and some people take the opportunity to look at crisis and respond with humor in order to like just feel better about it, maybe bring a little bit of levity to what otherwise is a really serious situation. But remember, our language, what comes out of our mouth, should always be building people up. In fact, if you still got that Bible open to Ephesians 5, maybe flip one page to the left to Ephesians 4:29, where it says no foul language should come from your mouth, but only what's good for building up someone in need so that it gives grace to those who hear. Understand that what you say can have a big impact on the people around you. And since you're going to be around the people you are around a lot, like 24/7, all day long, in the same house, you need to watch what you say. Pay attention. It matters. Also, pay attention to how you act. Now, this one might actually really have to deal with how you act in the grocery store when it's the last roll of toilet paper, all right? I mean, you've seen this stuff going all over the place. You've seen people fighting over food in the grocery stores. You've seen people like being really unkind and how they like are taking resources. It's important to pay attention to how you act right now. So maybe you've got two spheres. When you actually are going out to the grocery store and you're surrounded by other people who are really stressed, who are maybe really afraid, and who maybe this is the first time they've ever had to think about what life has to be like in a crisis, you need to pay attention to how you act. You need to give extra grace to the other people, because you yourself might need extra grace from them. And then even when you're at home all day long with your parents and your brother and sister and your animals, you need to pay attention to how you act. You might not realize at first that what you're doing is getting on everybody's nerves, but it sure might be. And you wouldn't want someone to get on your nerves all the time. So maybe think about how you can pay attention to how you act in order to be a blessing to the people around you, instead of kind of making them wish that you weren't spending so much time with them. And then the last thing might be the hardest, but it's one of the most important. Pay attention to what you think. What's going through your mind right now? Now imagine it's really easy to say, oh my gosh, I can't go to school. I don't get to see my friends. I can't do this. I don't do that. Oh man, you can fill your mind with all of the negative things that are going on in this situation right now. And if you do that, all that's going to be happening is you're going to fill your mind with negative things that are happening right now. Instead of that, try to make the mental shift to think about the positives, the opportunities you get. Because if you think about it, do you have a house? You should be grateful. Is there food in your pantry? You should be grateful. Do you have a family with you and around you? let's be grateful. Instead of thinking about all the things that you don't have or can't do, think about what you do have and think about what you are able to do. Which, when you're in crisis mode, it might be really easy to think about, oh no, things are terrible. Stop. Adjust your mind. You're going to need to. And then maybe it's something you're going to have to practice, but it's going to be worthwhile. Hey, the second part of what I think we need to do involves that second part of the verse. To make the most of your time. How can you make the most of your time? Hey, you need to think about what it is going to mean to be intentional. So spend time comforting the anxious. Maybe you've got some friends, or maybe it's your family, who are really nervous right now. They're scared. They're anxious about what the future holds. You can be the voice that just says, hey, I just want to listen. I know I'm not going to be able to fix it because I'm not a doctor with a degree in, spreading viruses and things like that. But I can be an ear. I can listen to what you've got to say. I can help you think about the positives. Maybe it's a time for you to comfort the anxious. Or if you're the one who's feeling anxious right now, maybe it's your opportunity to reach out and say, hey, I just need somebody to be on my team for a second, and I need somebody to listen. Don't be afraid to reach out. Do it. Spend your time with that. And then another way that you can spend your time is remembering the forgotten. Do you know your neighbors' names? Do you know who lives on your street or your cul-de-sac or your apartment complex? Maybe it's somebody who doesn't have family nearby, or somebody who lives alone, or someone who's in need. Now, you don't have to go knocking on their door and say, hey, can we come in and hang out? Because that's not exactly social distancing. But you could go and drop them off a care package, like a couple cans of food, a note that you wrote to them, and yeah, maybe even a spare roll of toilet paper because they might actually need it. Remember the forgotten. And maybe not just the forgotten right next to you, but the forgotten who live far away. Maybe you should call Grandma and Grandpa because they might be a little extra worried. They might be a little extra anxious about how their grandkids are doing. Reach out to them. FaceTime them so they can see your face. To let them know you're doing okay. And if you're feeling forgotten, again, it's okay. Reach out. Be the one who seeks out somebody else and say, hey, I just want to see somebody's face. Ask for that FaceTime time. Another way that you can spend your time is to grow in your faith. Look, I get it. Netflix has asked you at least 3 times today already, are you still watching? Because you have been, all right? Now, you can take this time that you've got that to be being socially isolated and things like that, and you could play video games and you could watch Netflix and you could just dive into YouTube and get down so many rabbit holes. I get it. But maybe you could take this opportunity to grow in your faith. Hey, actually read your Bible. Sit down. Spend some time writing out questions. Maybe you could even journal. Start a journal if you haven't. You could write out prayer requests that you have. And you could spend real time praying. You know those friends that you reached out for and asked, hey, are you anxious? You doing okay? Can I comfort you in any way? Maybe you could write down their prayer requests and say, hey, I just want to show you. I'm writing down what you say because I want to pray for you. And then actually spend time doing it. It could be a great way for you to grow in your faith. If you don't know where to start in maybe a reading Bible or a place to read, start with the book of James, all right? Because if you want to understand what the Lord's will is, the book of James has some really fantastic advice for how we can put our faith into action. You get to be creative and think about how to make that faith in action work when we're social distancing. So here's what I want you to know. When we're in crisis mode, I want you to be wise and care for others. To be wise and care for others. When my daughter had her arm broken, I had to take care of her as her dad. That was my job, to take care of her. But it was also my job to like make sure that my other children were taken care of as well, and that was obeying traffic laws. And so gathered up everybody, got them mostly kind of dry, put them in the car, safely went to the hospital, contacted family, hey, please come pick up these other two kids because we've got a broken arm situation. In a crisis, if you're not paying attention to what you're doing and how you're living, you can actually do more damage than good. So since we're in crisis mode right now, be wise and care for others. That's what I want you guys to go away with and think about. Okay, now here's what the deal. Normally in middle school we would say like, hey, let's play a game, let's be crazy. And I'm kind of sad that like we can't play a game and be crazy right now. I'm just hanging out in my office. But we're going to play a game anyways. We're going to play Stack It Up, all right? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go find 5 random things in your house from 5 different rooms, stack them up, take a picture. Now that might be like the old chair that sits in the room that like you don't ever sit in and nobody ever spends any time in. Like that's one room. And then you go grab some books, maybe from like your mom and dad's room, and you stack them up in the chair. And then you go grab the old telephone that you're not sure why you still have. It actually came from the attic. You got it out of there. And then on top of that, you put your PlayStation controller from the living room. And then, I don't know, like an umbrella from the garage or a closet. Take all those things, stack them up, and then take a picture for me, all right? Take a picture for me and send them here, okay? Send them to ronaldl@waysidechapel.org or tag me on Instagram with @echo_students, okay? Tuesday at 1 p.m., I'm gonna choose most creative stack that I see. I'm gonna let you know that you are the winner, and I'm gonna mail you a prize because the mail still works, so I can still mail you stuff. So do that, stack up your 5 random objects from 5 different rooms, explain what it is, and then tag me in Instagram or email me. If you need your parents' help for that, make it happen. And guys, I just want to remind you, all right, this is crazy. We're in weird territory. So if you want to be updated by anything, go to waysidechapel.org/echo online. Be up to date. Hey, I can't wait to see you guys Wednesday at 7 p.m. Hopefully you can be involved in our small groups that we've got meeting after our YouTube live event happens. It's crazy what we're going through right now, but it doesn't mean that we have to go through it without trusting God and acting insane. We can trust God, we can know that He's got this, we can live wisely, and we can care for others. Hey, thanks so much for listening and tuning in. This is our Sunday space. It's going to stay here for a while, and it's going to be fine. Tune in next week for episode 2, the next talk, week 2, whatever it is this is going to be. We will see you next week for Crisis Mode Part 2. And hey, guys, I love you all. I miss you all. And when this is all done, I'm just going to give you hugs because I miss you a lot. Okay? Hey. I'm Ronald with the Wayside 410 campus. You guys have a great week. We will see you later.